Welcome back to Ramblin' Hoops, everybody. It's Thursday, the 27th. We have a lot of news to get into today. Going over some stuff that I wasn't able to cover last week, and a lot of stuff that has gone on leading up to today of this week. Fox is out for the rest of the season due to, I think, pinky tendon surgery. Jason Tatum was injured with a ankle sprain because Sabonis landed in his shooter space. There was a lot of people on Twitter that were not happy about Sabonis injuring Jason Tatum to the point where people were bringing back the Draymond stomp video and flipped sides from when everybody was against Draymond. Now there was like a lot of people who were against Sabonis. So I just thought that was kind of funny. Obviously, Jason Tatum, hopefully he can get healthy soon. Speedy recovery, wishing a speedy recovery for him. I think he'll be back. I didn't really see the timetable, if there was one. Bobby Marks tweeted out that it's either going to happen or it might happen, to where they're going to do a 10% increase to the salary cap, which I think is needed just because of all of the drastic changes that we have seen happen in the NBA, especially this season, due to the second apron. I don't know how much 10% is going to do, but I mean, probably a lot considering how much money all of these guys are making. So hopefully we won't have to see teams like the Timberwolves break up like a really good team, like when we had Cat and Anthony Edwards on the same team. Damian Lillard out with blood clots indefinitely. That's going to hurt. That is going to hurt the Bucks. I had them at least making the second round. But now that Dame is out, it's going to be really, really, really hard for Giannis to carry that team. Like, he can do it, but I don't think it's going to happen. That really hurts the Bucks playoff hope, or not playoff hopes. Like, it hurts their playoff run. But at the same time, like with everything going on this season, like we all knew the Bucks weren't really going to make a push for the finals. But, it still sucks to see Dame go out. Gary Payton as well, GP2, also just went out for the rest of the season. Like, this report just came out like an hour or two ago. And that hurts the Warriors, because now that's a good amount of defense, or that's a really good defender. Now he's not playing. And GP2, especially over the last few years, especially in the playoffs, I feel like I've noticed that at least the last season, and I believe the season before that, he was really struggling with injuries and battling injuries. So it sucks to see him again go out so near to the playoffs. Again, hoping a speedy recovery for him as well as Dame, because this definitely hurts two playoff teams a lot. So the first thing I really want to get into today, so not too long ago, the Cavs lost 4 games in a row. 4 games in a row. Right after a 15-win streak. 15-win streak. There was a lot of Cavs fans. A lot of Cavs fans who were freaking out about this. There's a lot of people freaking out about this. Like, I don't know. Like, the Cavs just lost 4 in a row to, like, some pretty, and they were losing to like some pretty mediocre team. There were some teams they should have beat. And but there was also some teams on there that was just like the time when they lost to the Clippers. Like that 33-point game from Kawhi, like you can't really expect that. So are the Cavs, like should we really be worried about them going into the playoffs? Like should we be worried about like if they're able to make a run? Are there any other, like do they have any lineup mismatches? Is there anybody in their lineup that can kind of be picked apart? I'm going to be honest, they have one of the, if not the best starting lineup in the league. I mean, they have not really, like they've been battling with injuries, but to their star guys, like not really. We're at a point in time now in this season where guys are definitely trying to get as much rest as possible for the playoffs. And even then, you guys have to realize, like, Evan Mobley is on this team. Donovan Mitchell's on this team. One of the best shooting guards in the league with Donovan Mitchell, who can get hot whenever he wants. And then the potential defensive player of the year now, Evan Mobley. And then on top of that, you have a very good young guard who is a capable passer in Darius Garland. And then you also have Ty Jerome and DeAndre Hunter coming off the bench for you. And both of those guys, in their last 10, are both averaging 13 points. Ty Jerome is shooting 51, 37, and 72 shooting splits, while DeAndre Hunter is 50, 41, and 84. That's nuts. Those two guys coming off your bench doing that, that's scary. That's scary for a lot of teams. Again, you have Jared Allen. You have two guys. And it blows my mind that Jared Allen is 6'9". He plays like a 7-footer. He truly plays like a 7-footer. You have those two guys absolutely patrolling and roaming around because they're both Evan Mobley more than Jared Allen, I would say. Both are decent perimeter defenders. Obviously, I wouldn't want Jared Allen as the main guy constantly guarding the perimeter. But in my opinion, there's really only one team that the Cavs should be somewhat worried about, or at least cognitive of, going into the playoffs, and that's the Celtics. I believe that the Celtics are the favorites. Obviously, with how the NBA has been going on recently, we haven't had a whole lot of repeats, especially in the 2020s. It's always a new winner. But, I always kind of think the defending champs are going to be favorites going into the next season most of the time. Except for Denver. And then, I really just chalk this up to it just being, the time in the season. It's March. We're winding down to the end of the season. This is where guys are going to start to kind of take a load off, and, were there times where, maybe the Cavs were lackadaisical at certain points in games? Probably, but at the same time, to freak out over a 4-game losing streak after coming off of a 15-game winning streak for the second time. This is the Cavs' second time going 15-0 in the season. The first time was when they started this season. They've had two 15-0 runs. And there was people who were genuinely lost all hope in the Cavs for that 4-game losing streak. I think that's obviously a lot comes down to just people overreacting and having this need to overreact because they put so much of their life into the basketball team, which I don't blame, but kind of think about it for a second. It's not the end of the world. There's still plenty of games left. So me personally, I would not say we should be worried about the Cavs in the playoffs by means of will they drop off? Because I truly don't believe they will. I think Kenny Atkinson has a really nice, strong grip on these guys, and they all have this sense of community together as a team. Like how the Thunder are, like how a couple other teams in this league. I think you need to have a strong bond, and I think these guys have that to where there's nothing really to worry about in the playoffs, players wise. I would say, obviously, kind of health is that factor, but most of the Cavs are in really solid shape, and they're probably just taking time off now until the playoffs every now and again. So yeah, I would say the Cavs are fine. There's no reason to overreact. Up next, can the Pistons be a dark horse for the playoffs? Like, can they surprise us? Can they shock us? Currently, the Pistons are the fifth seed. If the playoffs started today, they'd be going up against the Pacers. I personally do not believe they could beat the Pacers. The Pacers have had a very, very underrated season, and I would say I'm partial to blame for why they have had an underrated season. They started off really, really slow, but holy cow, man, they have picked it up. Tyrese Halliburton is just, he really is just out of this world. He is one of the best passers in the league already. He is by far top 5 passer in the league already, which is so crazy for how young he is. I will be curious to see how Cade can play in his first playoff series. I think he can play very well. I think he's at that point in time in his career where he has had enough time and experience to kind of understand really what this team needs. And I think that going into the playoffs, even if he does struggle a little bit, I think he'll grasp and understand, like, after the first game, okay, what does my team really need from me? Now, I do believe that the Pistons can take a game or two against the Pacers. However, the Pacers definitely have a lot more weapons than the Pistons. I would love to see how both of these teams, if they do play in the playoffs, I'd love to see how both of these teams are able to defend each other's pick and rolls. I'd actually really like to see that playoffs. That are the Bucks. I'd love to see the Bucks play again against the Pacers. Another concern, though, would be Malik Monk is having a career year. I think the only problem is, can he keep up that shooting? I think that's just like a question. That's not a problem. It's just a question to ask. Can he keep up the shooting with how he has been? The game slows down a lot. So will he be able to kind of get the same looks that he was getting in the regular season? Or are teams gonna like really hound and honestly focus Malik? I think Malik is going to be someone that needs a guy on him at all times. He's the last person you want to leave open, and obviously, he's a shooter, but this is just not someone you can leave open. And I'd really like to see how teams scheme around defending those actions against Malik Beasley. Another question is, can Tobias Harris step up? He's the vet on this team. And, after all the things that have happened in Philadelphia, can he be able to actually produce something? Because he has faltered a lot in the playoffs. He's faltered a lot in the regular season, especially for Philadelphia. But this year, he's actually having a really solid season. Can he keep that up for the Pistons? I really don't know. I believe that Tobias Harris still needs to prove to us that he's worth the money that he's made over the career. And I don't think, and I don't mean to hate on the guy, but I really don't think he ever will. But I think right now is the opportunity to kind of hush some of the haters, and not like, he's not saying go and drop 25 every game, but can he average 17 points a game on really good efficiency and be able to do what he needs to for the team? Another thing I will say that kind of worries me about the Pistons, their record against the top 4 teams in the East, 2-10. 2-10 against the top 4 teams in the East. That's the only like really kind of thing that worries me, is the record against those. It's against the Pacers, the Knicks, the Celtics, and the Cavs. They've only beaten the Pacers and the Pacers and the Celtics each once. They still need to finish their series with the Knicks, I believe, and their series with the Cavs. Yeah, okay, so here they go. Okay, so they're currently 0-3 against the Cavs, 0-3 against the Knicks. They are 1-4 against the Pacers and 1-4 against the Celtics. They're still not solidified as the 5th seed. I'd like to see if they're able to keep this 5th seed, but it's gonna be really hard for the Pistons. They still have to go up against the Cavs, the Timberwolves, the Thunder, Grizzlies, Kings, Knicks, and play the Bucks twice. They still have to go through all of those teams. I threw the Kings in there just because they're a playoff team, but all of these other teams on here are going to be difficult to play against. It's going to be a challenge for the Pistons, especially winding down near the end of the season. Hopefully they can at least win 2 or 3 of these games out of those matchups that they have coming up. Okay, up next, on top of talking about the Pistons with their playoffs, are there any teams that wouldn't want to play the Warriors? And right now, if the playoffs started, the Warriors would be in the play-in, and they would be going up against the Timberwolves. That is one hell of a play-in match. I believe the Thunder are the 7th seed and the Timberwolves are the 8th seed. That, or I'm flip-flopping them. And I really don't know if there is a team that should be scared of playing the Warriors. Curry's out with a pelvic injury, but it shouldn't be for long since it was said that there was no structural damage. So Curry will be back before the playoffs. Curry, Draymond, and Jimmy Butler are all proving to be a very good trio for the Warriors. This doesn't really mean anything when it comes to finals hopes, but it does mean something for the playoffs, especially if you're in the play-in going against this team. This hurts your playoff odds. It hurts your chance to get into the playoffs. But other than Curry, Jimmy, and Draymond, is there really anybody else that the teams that could potentially be going up against the Warriors? Are there any guys you need to worry about? Like, will Buddy Hield be able to start hitting threes? He has been struggling all season. Will he find his rhythm again in the playoffs? I think that's, if your main role is to shoot and you go in the playoffs and you can't shoot, like, it's, what's the guy on your team for? Pods, over his last 10, has been shooting 50% from 3, though. So that is a decent sign. They're on like 5 attempts, I believe. So that definitely helps. Pods brings an energy off the bench. Moody has been proving very solid in the starting lineup, along with Quinton Post. The Warriors have a lot of small ball lineups. So if anything, they could probably just play, like if they went up against the Timberwolves, like they could just probably play the Timberwolves and force them to play small and then just dominate them that way. Because no matter what, you have Curry, who's always going to hit multiple threes in a game. You have Jimmy Butler, who is going to turn into playoff Jimmy. He's going to drive. He's going to force you to foul him. And then you have Draymond, who is one of the smartest defenders in the league right now. And he just anchors your defense and knows exactly what other teams are going to do. But then after that, you, like I said, you really kind of have nobody on the team. Moses Moody, like I said, has been playing solid. Quinton Post has been playing solid. But can those guys, like, can Quinton Post handle somebody like Rudy Gobert? Or somebody like Nikola Jokic? Or Chet Holmgren or Isaiah Hartenstein? Who are some other centers that I'm missing in the West? Rudy Gobert, Jokic. You know, can Quinton Post handle Zubac? Can he handle Sengun? Can he handle Zach Edey or Jaren Jackson Jr.? I really don't know. Quinton Post, if they make it to the playoffs, is going to be tested. And the West is not, I mean, the West obviously isn't going to back down, but this is a really hard division, a hard conference to play in, especially for someone who is put in a position like Quinton Post is. But I think, in my opinion, I really don't think there's any team that should be worried about the Warriors. I think there's some teams that should definitely take the matchup more serious, like the Rockets. Actually, yes, I would say the Rockets should be worried. The Rockets should absolutely be worried about the Warriors. The Thunder shouldn't. The Clippers should. And maybe the Grizzlies. But there's no playoff team right now other than the Clippers and the Rockets that I would say other teams should, like those are the only two teams that should be worried about the Warriors, in my opinion. I don't think the Warriors are going to go far. Well, they're not going to go far. But if they do, that'd be pretty cool. I'd love to see Curry make another deep playoff run, and Curry with Jimmy Butler would be kind of nuts to see them go ballistic in the playoffs. That'd be really cool to see. All right, finally, the final topic I have today before we move on to the highlighted player is who's the best third option in the league right now? This is more of kind of like an open-end kind of thing where like I actually kind of want to hear what you guys have to say in the comments if who you think is the best third option in the league. Since the Luka trade for the Lakers, there's been a lot of people to say Austin Reeves, and he has been killing it. But there's some other notable names, I think, that aren't being brought up for third options. Naz Reid is one of them. He's averaging 14, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists on 46-38 shooting. 46 from the field, 38 from 3. Mobley, 18 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. Also potentially the defensive player of the year. And then I have Chet and J-Dub both on here. I would say this season, Chet would have been the third option. But if Chet would have been healthy, J-Dub would have been the third option. And J-Dub will be the third option when Chet is healthy. In my opinion, I would say the best person on here would probably be Mobley. I would say it would probably be of the 3 big men on this. Out of the 5 guys that I picked, the 3 big men I would take over Austin Reeves. However, it is nice to get a guard that is able to be the third option. You don't get that a lot. And I love how Reeves has accepted all of these changes and how he hasn't let it phase him and that he's still willing to go out there and hoop. So yeah, are there any third options that you think, I missed? Like I said, I think Mobley is the best third option on here just because of literally everything he brings. He's got the shooting, not like Reeves, but he can shoot, he can defend, he can guard the perimeter pretty well. Rebounds, is a great screener. He's great at rolling, and just a great back to the basket game. I mean, he is such a good post game. I just can't wait for him to keep developing. And then finally, my highlight player of the video would be Kobe White. Guys, I've shouted out a bowl, Josh Giddey. I shouted him out 2 weeks ago. But Kobe White and the Bulls, man, they've been looking really excited. I actually can't wait to watch them next season. I've really only been paying attention to playoff teams since we're so close to the playoffs. But yeah, man, Kobe is the first Bull since Michael Jordan to win Player of the Week back-to-back. That's nuts. The first week he got Player of the Week, he was averaging 27 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists on 46% from the field. The second week, so this week when he got last week when he got Player of the Week, 30.3 points, 4 assists, and they went 3-1. Kobe White, he can hoop, and he's been, from what I've heard, he has been a March hooper. He has always turned up in March. Anyways, that's all I have for you guys. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Let's enjoy some more basketball coming up. This week, we have a lot of good hoops on. For March Madness, we have a lot of good games on. I wouldn't really say there's any crazy games to watch for the NBA. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, please. I would really appreciate that. And let's keep loving hoops. Deuces.